yeah, my family is not good with giving warnings, I guess, about things, and they do it to protect us. Over the summer, my childhood home was sold. So my dad moved into, I don't even know what you call it, like a kind of a townhouse thing. It's one story in some housing association, um, and it kind of meant that like when the space that he lived in shrunk, so did his space for my sister and I in his life. And now when I go home back to Illinois, I basically have to couch surf with different parts of my family that aren't him.
That's Helen Weil. She's a fourth year psych student at the University of Minnesota. She likes Spider Man and ensemble movies. Her favorite song is Hero by Family of the Year, and she likes the golden Oreos more than the double stuffed ones.
I'm from Arlington Heights, which is a northwest suburb of Chicago.
My mom's house is along the way, so for the past 3 years, we drove down for the holidays together. Helen dresses like a librarian in an indie band, so lots of comfy sweaters and neutral colors mixed with jeans. She's also got 14 patchwork tattoos with her mother's handwriting on her left arm. She's got Happier Now on her right elbow and a really intricate and veiny heart on her opposite. She's got a million little things and a story for each one.
Or that's the moon, and then this is the star. And that one's that's a cover-up of a bad stick and poke I gave myself during the pandemic. A piece of art that's supposed to represent like rebirth in the cycle of life. It starts as a star and ends as a star. And in the middle there's like plants and a sun and moon and stuff. I have my mom's handwriting. It says I love you. I got that from a card she wrote my dad. It was, I don't know, I think it was for their anniversary.
Anyways, Frank, Helen's dad, doesn't seem all that torn up about leaving Illinois.
So for me, it's not an issue of, am I moving somewhere? I mean, obviously I am, but it's like, it doesn't matter. As a parent, you can never not worry about your kids, but they're forging their own paths in life.
Hearing Frank say you can never not worry about your kids only seconds after saying it doesn't matter, it set me off. I don't understand how leaving your daughter in the Midwest to move to Tucson, Arizona doesn't matter. I lost my dad when I was 13. My mom tried her best to comfort me. She would remind me that despite the distance, my dad would have always loved me. And to get through losing a parent, either from moving away or otherwise, you gotta tell yourself things and rationalize it a bit.
My dad's 61. He's about ready to retire. My stepmom is retired. She's 65. So they're ready to have that freedom, be living in a place that's not covered in snow for half the year. They want to go play golf, and my stepmom just taught my dad like bocce ball or something, and for some reason he really liked that.
How does it feel knowing that he's going to be in Arizona?
Ooh, not good. Oh no. Okay. Bittersweet. I'm happy that he gets to do all these things that he deserves to. Because he didn't have it easy either. So it's nice that he gets like time to just be free of all these responsibilities. And he'll be in the same city as my sister, which I think is going to be so good for the both of them. Just very unfortunate, I think, that that decision came right after I decided to stay here in the Midwest.
I don't get how Helen can be so okay with Frank. I don't understand how any parent can be so passive about leaving behind their kid. When I pitched this story, I wanted it to be about Helen and how she loves, how despite the hurt, how despite the losses in her life, she's still so full of love. But right now, I can't stop thinking about how upset I think she should be.
There's nothing to do except take those feelings, put them in a box, tape the box shut, and put it on a shelf, and say, you know, maybe I'll unpack that some other day, but I don't have time for it right now. I'm tired of being sad about it because it's been so many months of not having the house and my dad, you know, planning to move and stuff.
I get that I'm totally projecting my anger onto Helen and her situation. But I don't get how she can be so relaxed while she's losing another parent.
My mom had brain cancer near the brainstem, and it is the most aggressive form of brain cancer and the one with the worst survival rate.
Helen's mom, Carol, was diagnosed with cancer when Helen was 6.
Had chemo, had surgery, which didn't go as planned. She had a stroke on the table, left her disabled. When she came home from the hospital, she couldn't use her leg, arm. Her eye couldn't focus. Yeah, and it took a long time for her to get function back. She had like a stress ball, because those were really good for just motor function. And she was like independently squeezing it. And we had like an in-home caregiver, and she went, "Carol, you're doing it." And so we were so hopeful. And then like, I think it was like later that year, she was gone.
Takes a certain strength. I told them it was okay to take what has happened to them in their life and understand that it can be a reason for things going on, but it should never be an excuse for what's going on.
So when someone dies, it doesn't really hit right away. I still remember exactly when it hit, and it was like a couple days after she passed. I think it was before the funeral. So it must have been like, what, a day? I'd say like 2 days after. Maybe it was after the funeral, and it was like 4 days after she passed or something. But I was in the shower, and I thought, oh my God, my mom's not going to get to be at my wedding. And it broke me.
Helen was 11 at the time.
My parents, they always decided like quality of life over quantity. And she was already sick, and they weren't going to make it worse. That August, she was moved to hospice, and that was when she passed.
When people ask me about my dad, I say one of two things. The first, and the one for strangers, is that I don't know my dad. I didn't get to meet him. Other times I say I lost my dad, but I mean that in a literal sense. He didn't die. He moved away. He left me. But, I mean, he's basically dead now. I don't really know him anymore. Helen lost her mom to fucking cancer. And I'm comparing that to a dad who could have killed me. My dad was an addict. He used heroin for years of my childhood. And to save himself from overdosing for the last time, he drove away to somewhere new. It's not cancer, no, but my dad was sick, and he knew his dependency, his addiction, would slowly kill him. I knew my dad wasn't well, but no one ever told me or explained to me what was wrong with him. All I knew was that in 2 weeks, my dad would be leaving.
And it just, you can't sit a 6-year-old down and say, you know, mom has glioblastoma multiforme, and expect them to like know what that means or whatever.
After fighting cancer for years and seemingly getting better, Carol entered remission in March 2012. Frank didn't tell his daughters until June. I don't have any memories of seeing my dad sick in bed. What I do have are memories of my dad throwing glass at me and threatening to hurt me. What I do have are memories of my dad telling me he loves me and will never do that for a 5th time.
I was in Girl Scouts. There was someone, I think, told me this like at her funeral. There was a little girl who was like really shy, so my mom would like sit with her so that she would like feel comfortable joining in. I think, we were, what? I was 11 when she passed, but she had made enough of an impact on that girl that she, like, came and talked to me at the funeral. Yeah, so she was a good person.
I remember when I heard her say that, I thought, now that's the kind of story I want to tell about my dad when he dies. But I don't think I could. I know I'm comparing apples to oranges. My dad's problems and the weight I carry, not the same as Helen's. Maybe it's selfish to look at the two as similar. But I don't really care anymore. I see someone losing their parents, and I get upset. Seeing Frank leave, I would have felt 13 all over again, like he dropped his daughter on the floor. I still hold a grudge for my dad leaving on such a short notice. He said he leaves in 2 weeks to the other side of the fucking country, and I don't know how Helen can stay so calm about her dad leaving, about how little warning he gave to their mom's sickness.
I do understand why he didn't tell us in March, because then we would have just been, looking for the signs and symptoms and stuff the whole time, and I don't know if I'd even have been able to, like, finish the semester.
My editor, when I sent her the first draft of the story, she asked me, what did Helen teach me? I can't say that Helen Weil taught me anything yet, just because I don't think I'm at the place where I can forgive my family. I've been angry for so many years. I've thought that's just how I was supposed to be. But I look at Helen and Frank, and I don't see a relationship like Alberto and his dad Albert. I see a woman who's learned to look at the hurt and not want to spite the world. I see someone who still cares about her family and still loves her dad, who can still look at her mom fondly and miss her and not get mad. Frank describes Helen like this.
Empathetic, where it's always caring and always trying to understand how the other person is feeling and to guide her actions and her responses with that understanding. And again, I couldn't give a specific example of that. I think it's just more how she approaches just everything.
I want to see family the same way Helen sees it.
Last night, on the phone with my sister, she said, someday, I can't wait for the day it's just the two of us having our own Thanksgiving. I think making plans makes me feel loved, because it's like I'm sticking around. I feel like love is so many different things. Like, love for my sister's different than my friends or my grandparents or something. I think just being home with someone, just feeling at home, feeling like they're your home. Like my dad always said, you always have a home with me, no matter where a house is, because, like, your home is in my heart. And I really like that sentiment.